Yeah, let's go. Let's go. Good lunch, right? Yeah. Let's give a round of applause to the people who made that food for us. Big thanks to Manukau City Baptist Church for providing that. It was quite a sort of a last-minute throw-in, but I think it was much better that we got to hang out together and eat the same stuff together, mainly. Come on in. Please excuse me for having to suck a lozenge thing. Hope you don't hear this. But, yeah, I've sort of promised that after lunch we're going to get a bit more sort of like practical, a bit more musical, and well, I think it was important to cover what we had before now, getting us on the same page with a wider definition or understanding of the worship of God and the role of music as an expression of worship, and then bringing us to that humanly measurable goal of getting our congregation singing. And just know that my coaching from this point is with that in mind. How do we help our congregation feel more warmly invited to sing? So this module 5 is called Small Musical Sadnesses, because I've got some things to teach you now, and some of them you won't like. Things that I would ask you to keep in mind and maybe even change about your sound that you may not really want to do. But I'd like to assure you that if you do these things, if you absorb these small musical sadnesses, then that will make available to you the higher joy, what I call the higher joy, which is realizing that, oh, it's not about me getting what I want. It's not about me getting to do what I want musically. It's about me warmly inviting the congregation to sing their song as an expression of worship to God. So are you ready to go there with me? Okay. We're going to start with the small musical sadness number 1, which is repertoire. So we have to be very, very intentional with our song selection. I actually believe there needs to be a common, core, tight little list of songs that anyone who gets to choose songs for your Sunday service, they all know they need to pull from that list. And I've sometimes gone to coach churches and they say, we've got all these problems. And I say, great, can you show me your repertoire? And I had one guy in California pull out this huge folder, and then another one. It was paper music, and it was like 700 songs. And there was a time, in fact, maybe some churches are still there, where, the pastor could say, well, I'm preaching on this topic, and so I want these 5 hymns, and that wonderful, usually a lady who was an incredible sight reader, she could brush up on those 5 hymns, half an hour before the service, and you could do those songs. But we're not sort of operating that way anymore. So I think we need to have a common list for all, and it's a very thoughtfully curated song list. And I've also coached churches where it's like, well, we've kind of got these 3 different teams, and they all got their own repertoire. And there's no overlap. I don't suggest that, because one of the main reasons why a congregation member is not going to be singing, because they just don't really know the song, right? So if we agree that we want to get the congregation singing, then it's going to be important that probably 90% of our people know every song that we do. And if we're introducing a new song to our repertoire, we're going to do that really, really intentionally and carefully. So thoughtful song curation, congregational connection is more important than personal preference. Don't add songs because you like it. Don't add songs because the bigger church down the road is doing it. Don't add a song because it's really getting lots of hits on YouTube right now. Add songs so that your congregation can sing them. We've got to think about the lyrics of the songs, and these need to align with the priorities of your leadership. You have to realise that you're coming under this umbrella of authority. So every now and again a song pops up, and I don't think I need to name many of them, but every now and again a song comes up that someone loves and they want to do it, and the elders or the pastor have a serious problem with it, and problems ensue, right? Now, if your eldership or your pastor doesn't want a particular song sung by the congregation, then just don't do it. That's end of story. Doesn't mean you can't talk to them about it and try and come to some different understanding. But may I just equip any pastor here You know, I sometimes hear pastors saying they want to do XYZ song and it's just heretical. You know, it's heresy, that lyric. I would suggest a different way of talking to your team about it. Because let's understand, theology is the study of God, am I right? And God, paradoxically, is knowable and unknowable. So if I am not, this is a rhetorical question, but if I said, would you please stand if your theology is complete and perfect now? You know, that should be none of us standing up, right? Because we're studying God. So, Pastor, rather than saying this lyric is heretical, I would just say to your team, this is not where we're steering our congregation at the moment. This is not where we're going right now. So this is not going to fit where we're going. So don't have that I know God better than you war, but ask them to realise that they are coming under where you are steering the ship. Yeah? That's a healthier way to talk about these things, I think. So we don't need to argue about, you know, reckless love or any of those anymore. Oh, I like that song. Anyway, so prioritise singability of the songs. Like, songs have to be singable by Jack and Jill average congregant. And some of the songs that are being presented to us as congregational songs are really just not. They're very difficult for people to sing. And so we have to be thinking about the rhythm, the register, and the repetition. Because a song that has something like a bridge that happens only once, that's tougher for people to get to know that. So just be aware of these things. And I would strongly suggest balancing novelty and nostalgia, and do that very carefully. Now, some congregations can cope with more novelty, more new songs. Some are less prone to being able to cope with that. But balance that novelty and nostalgia, not based on the tiredness or the boredom of the band, but on how well people are resonating with songs and how well they are singing them. And this is the kicker here. We need to rotate fewer songs more often. As I've said just before, the main reason why a congregation member won't be singing a song is because they just don't know it. And I actually think when the team on the platform have too many songs in their repertoire, they play them and sing them with this unsureness as well, that the congregation reads that, and it makes them more resistant. So I advocate for few songs. Now, it's actually really, really hard to kill songs. I don't suggest killing songs, but excuse me. But I set up my repertoire, and this is not current, but it's a little bit older now. But I almost think of it as being each song as being like a sporting team member. All right, and so I've got in the middle here, the orange column is my on the field players, and I don't let that list get any more than 25. 25. And that's the 25 songs that I believe that everyone on the team, every singer and instrumentalist and technicians, I think, need to know what those 25 songs are. On any given Sunday, if you are rostered on, we will be pulling from one of these 25 songs. Now, I don't kill songs. I have being rested. It's code for killing. But no, we can pull back an old song that we did last year or the year before or 5 years ago if we want to, but they are being rested. And then here I've got possible recruits, which is I heard a song somewhere, I went to a different church service or to an event, or I was listening to Spotify or whatever, I saw something show up on the CCLI top 10, and I actually do try to have pretty much all of CCLI's top 10 or 15 amongst my 25. I try to do that for my purposes, but I won't always use those newer songs if I'm leading, especially an older sort of congregation. But the trick here is, if you want to bring a new song in, you have to shift something from here to there. All right? You must. And it's actually can be quite painful to do this. But churches who have, 70 songs or 150 songs in your current repertoire, I strongly suggest that you have a meeting of the people who get to choose songs and have some good food together, maybe a glass of wine if you're Presbyterian, and you each get to name one song you want to have in the 25 and go around the circle until you've got to 20 or 25. And I think even 25 is a bit much sometimes. Now, that can be a bit of a sting. That's a small musical sadness, but it's worth it. Not only just to have your congregation know the songs, but also have your team much more confident with the songs. Because the level of intentionality that I suggest, and I actually taught the MCBC team last night, the intentional of how we sing and play songs is only possible for a very short list of songs. And that'll become more obvious here, the sort of the level that I think is necessary to craft a sound. Now, I break my own rule quite a bit with this, and I thought I'd just confess this, because I have now more currently come up with a ageless veterans list. So these are songs that I'm happy if they stay there almost for all time. You know, so if you can't, you may not better see it, but I've got All Creatures of Our God and King, Amazing Grace, Be Still My Soul, Holy, Holy, Holy. Like, these are usually old songs that have stood the test of time, and they're going to be really useful for me to have, especially if and like I sometimes do, I'll go to a retirement home to lead sung worship, which ends up being like a little bit of a concert and people's hearts swell. It's just beautiful. If you've never done it, go to a retirement home and pull out some old hymns and see what happens. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. So yeah, I'm keeping that on the field is now more last 10 years sort of songs. Make sense? Any comments or questions about that? Right. Fewer songs, rotated more often, and everyone pulling from the same list. Yep. Good deal. Yes, so can we get the mic to from Tim? Here it is here, Tim, I think. Thank you, Francis. Should I go back? Maybe.
So from your rested list,
Rested, yep.
and from the congregation, because after a few months, maybe years, they will say, you never sing that song again. Can you sing that song again? So we go back to the rested list and move it back to your current 25 normally. Do you do that?
Yep. So we only bring one new possible recruit into the middle, or bring one back.
Right.
And we might have a sermon series, or we might have a particular, there might be a funeral. Look, I don't know what it is, but yes, we can absolutely bring songs back from being rested into the on the field team. This for me goes down to about 40 or 50 songs that I've done, and some of them I haven't done in a decade. But I don't want to kill them, you know. Keep them nearby, because you never know. You never know. And especially because I guess I'm travelling around now to different churches and different flavours and even different countries. So I'm trying to have songs that match, because it's about playing the songs that I know are going to connect more than playing what I want to play. Okay, small musical sadness number 2 is singability. We've got to be asking ourselves, are the songs singable by your congregation? You've got to think about the people that you're leading, and how's this going to work? How wide is the register is really, really important. Because if a song, the lowest note is way, way lower than the highest note, the wider that gap, the harder it is for Jack or Jill, average congregant, to sing that song. And which makes me mention this thing, the octave jump. Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about, the octave jump. Okay, for any of us who's not sure, it's a technique that's been around for quite a while, but it's become almost a pandemic within what's called worship music, where someone will start singing the song in a lower octave, and then at some point in the song they launch up the octave, and it's a powerful, beautiful, potent performance technique. No congregation can follow an octave jump. Zip, zero. Can't be done. It's been around since my first memory was in the 70s of, I can't live if living is without you. Does anyone remember that song? I'm sorry, yeah. I can't live. And we all cried. Anyway. In fact, the first congregational song I did that for was Lord, I Need You. Does anyone remember that Matt Maher song? Where sin runs deep, your grace is found. And I can't remember, but and where you are, Lord, goes up the octave for the second part of verse 2. And I did that at our little church in Nashville. And I thought it was great, you know. And after the service, my wife Brooke said to me, that new song, what was that one? I said, Lord, I Need You. yeah, what happened in that one? And I said, oh, it's got an octave jump in it. And I sing the first verse low and the first part of the first, second verse, and then it leaps up and it just feels, mate, great. And she said, well, the congregation couldn't sing that. Couldn't follow you. Like, oh, no, you just need to try a bit harder. I think I said, stupidly, try a bit harder. And she said, no, you've got to remove that octave jump, otherwise we can't do it. And I actually did that. Like, I changed the key in my studio at home and worked out how we could do it. And I actually brought it to the band pre-service on Sunday, and we rehearsed it with the octave jump, and it felt so sad to me that I changed the key back and did the octave jump. I couldn't do it. It felt so sad. And surely after the service, my wife came to me, you did it again, didn't you? The octave jump. So the third time I used that song, I went with what Brooke was saying. I removed the octave jump. It felt so bad. When I played it on my own, it felt terrible. When I rehearsed it with the band before the service, it felt terrible. And then I heard the congregation sing it. And I thought they were singing it before. But for the first time, I heard them sing every word of every part of it. And I am never going back. The higher joy. So there's quite a few songs that have got this octave jump in them, and if you have the octave jump, the leader, the person who's singing the melody, needs to choose that key very, very carefully, don't we? So we can be at least comfortable wherever we are. But if you remove that octave jump and absorb the small musical sadness, there is a higher joy on the other side of it for you. And then we need to talk about syncopation, and just understand this when the melody of the vocal is off the beat, but like even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, it's actually very tough for some people to sing syncopation. It seems to me that the older you are and the harder it is for you to sing syncopation for some reason. But just read your room and be aware of this. And what I'm going to try and show you here, look, this is a picture of a crab, right? No, it's not a crab. It's actually a crab skeleton. Why is he showing us a crab skeleton? Stay with me. Some songs are exoskeletal, like this crab. And what I mean by that is everything the congregation needs to know about how the song should be sung is contained in the melody. Like this. Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty. All the notes are on a nice, neat subdivision of the beat, right? You can sing that song a cappella, and we can sing it a cappella, right? Which means no instruments. You can have a 95-year-old lady with arthritis playing the piano like she's a seal, and still accompany a congregation for Holy, 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 because the congregation keep themselves glued together with where the beat is, all right? That's what I call an exoskeletal song. Some congregations, everyone actually, will find it easier to sing exoskeletal songs. But this is a skeleton of a what? You don't know. Without the flesh, without everything else, without the skin. It's an endoskeletal creature. It's harder to tell that is a koala. All right? Oops, I lost my koala. I clicked it too many times. Some songs are more like that. Oh, gosh. Anyway, can you imagine the koala for a moment? Yeah. All right, we'll get you the koala. Song single. Yeah. So those songs that